The world of Greenfield Innovations is more than just a soaring glass skyscraper. Behind its closed doors lie brutal battles of wits. When Harper Winslow rolls in on her bicycle, she pulls back the curtain on a plot of betrayal, igniting a quest to reclaim justice and a love torn apart. That journey uncovers deadly secrets and life-or-death passions. As dawn broke with a hint of sunlight, Harper Winslow pedaled furiously through the misty streets, a spring breeze breaking free from the grip of darkness. Her bike tires rolled over painted lanes, her pleated skirt fluttering like butterfly wings, stirring the scene of Greenfield Innovations' towering office ahead. In her hands were a slate-gray helmet and a carefully plastic-wrapped briefcase, each detail reminder of her steadfast belief in reducing carbon footprints, a message more vibrant than any hollow speech. Arriving at the glass-walled high-rise, Harper braked and deftly locked her bike to a sidewalk rack, the building's reflection mirroring her resolve. Her cheeks flushed, lending a fresh, professional air, despite her thrifted outfit, a crisp white blouse and navy pencil skirt, kept pristine. Each click of the lock, seemingly trivial, rang like a drumbeat, marking a meaningful start. Success wasn't measured by designer labels, but by how one showed up with principle. Just 6 hours earlier, Harper had woken in her dim, tiny apartment. Groping for her phone, its faint flashlight beam cut through the dark like a torch, guiding her to the kitchen, where a notice of power shutoff was taped to the counter. The third time that year, the words, "Service suspended until end of day," drew a sigh, her lips curling into a wry smile as she pulled a worn candle from a cluttered drawer. Soft footsteps echoed in the hall, and Sloane Hartley, her roommate, appeared, hair a wild nest from a stormy night. "Power's out again this morning?" Sloane's sleepy voice carried half blame, half concern. Harper glanced at her wristwatch, her tone confident yet playful. "A few hours from now, life changes. We'll deal when I get paid." Amid the jumble of belongings, she picked her only outfit, carefully smoothing each pleat like an artist preparing an overture. All hardships, all constraints shrank before the wide-open door of opportunity. "Why not let me drive you? I can be a bit late, but at least you won't tire yourself out," Sloane offered, eyes worried. Harper shook her head firmly. $10 for a cab is $10 of carbon footprint. Plus, the park route gives me 5 minutes to de-stress. Her words, both serious and impish, conjured the image of a girl undaunted by sweat to uphold her philosophy. Minutes later, with the faint scent of candle wax lingering in the hall, Harper tucked her research notebook into her bag and waved goodbye to Sloane. Her long black hair, neatly tied back, gleamed under the yellow light, each strand a spark of unwavering faith. The apartment door closed, leaving behind not just darkness, but a resilient spirit. Across the city, in a sleek penthouse, Archer Caldwell's automated blinds rose, ushering dawn into a space of walnut wood and leather. A virtual assistant recited the day's schedule, 6 interviews for Director of Sustainability, starting at 9, while an espresso machine quietly brewed his dose of caffeine. Archer carefully chose a navy-stripped tie, his face a blend of perfectionism and quiet anticipation for something truly innovative. Back in the present, Harper pressed the elevator button, her heart a storm of excitement. She took a deep breath, reminding herself that every drop of sweat, every morning struggle, was worth it if it could impact the community. The metal doors parted, ushering her into a polished lobby with a minimalist reception desk and gray velvet rug. Across the room, Greer Sinclair stood poised, tablet in hand, her glance almost questioning. "Candidates early, huh?" A breeze slipped through the glass door's gap, tousling a few loose strands of Harper's hair, giving her the air of an unexpected force on a professional stage. She smiled softly, placed her briefcase on the desk, and replied lightly, "I biked 5 miles, flat road, just in time to start my story." In that moment, the image of a small girl with big ideas, like a raw diamond, became the focus of every gaze, ready to shine. Dawn filtered through the towering glass of Greenfield Innovations' office, casting light on Archer Caldwell's dark suit and the elegant signature on his ebony desk. He leaned back in his leather chair, pride mingling with curiosity as he glanced toward the door. It cracked open, and the image of the woman who'd biked to the interview lingered, her dark hair tied neatly, swaying with each petal, her face vibrant yet serious, bringing an unusual vitality. Her resume on the desk was one he'd seen among hundreds, but her arrival, not in a sleek sedan or pristine limousine, but as herself, stirred a quiet curiosity about whether intellect and grit could outshine convention. As Harper Winslow gently set her leather briefcase on the table, Archer's eyes tracked her every move. He skimmed her freshly submitted resume, its meticulous handwriting and impressive research record catching his attention. "Your career path is this clear-cut?" he asked, his low voice hanging like a question mark in the expansive meeting room. Unfazed, Harper responded calmly, her voice steady. "I believe success isn't just bold letters on a degree or soaring stock prices. It's about turning ideas into tangible action." Her words resonated in the stately room like a gentle challenge, prompting Archer to nod, both impressed and wondering if he'd underestimated this future leader. When the interview shifted to solution proposals, Harper stood, her voice brimming with passion as she outlined her plan. "If money were no barrier, I'd develop affordable solar energy systems for low-impact housing, paired with simple on-site water filtration. This cuts initial costs by 40% and expands access fourfold compared to current tech." The screen behind her displayed clear data, cost average curves, modular installation diagrams, and social impact metric. Each figure and chart, explained with fervor, charged the room's atmosphere. "We're not just targeting big corporations, we're reaching families who can't access modern technology," she concluded, her eyes blazing with resolve, a spark igniting hope. As her final words settled, Archer set down his pen, pausing to absorb her ideas. He met her bright gaze, wondering how many candidates would dare leave a penthouse office and bike in on pure principle. "You've made me and the hiring board rethink what cutting-edge technology means," he said, his tone full of respect. Harper tilted her head, a faint smile affirming her readiness to pay the price for her beliefs. The meeting room door closed softly, leaving behind an electric air of promising change. Less than 10 minutes later, Greer Sinclair, the assistant usually behind the scenes, hurried in, her face a mix of excitement and barely concealed secrecy. "Mr. Caldwell, there's something undisclosed in Miss Winslow's file," she whispered, glancing around cautiously. From her vest pocket she pulled a small USB, its metallic sheen glinting under the lights. On the screen, a title flashed from an anonymous study that had once stirred internal buzz: "Portable Water Filtration for Urban Lowlands." Archer squinted, recognizing the diagram's lines as identical to Harper's proposal. "This is hers?" he asked, his voice heavy. Greer nodded, carefully revealing, "Yes, Mr. Caldwell. Harper Winslow is the anonymous author we piloted. She chose to let the idea stand ahead of her name." In that moment, the room seemed to still, every gaze fixed on the just-closed door. A profound, powerful silence rang out, as if reminding all that the truest values often come from the least expected places. Archer sprang to his feet, striding toward the door, protocol be damned. He knew he'd just met someone unmissable. A visionary not only bringing bold ideas but wielding proof of real-world impact, exactly what he'd sought for Greenfield Innovations' sustainable future. The first morning at Greenfield Innovations dawned with soft light filtering through the window blinds of Harper Winslow's small apartment, carrying a mix of anticipation and professional confidence. As she stepped into the minimalist office designed for her new role as Director of Sustainability, every detail embodied less is more. A desk free of unnecessary clutter, a sleek wall-mount lamp cutting a clean line across the white wall, and a small potted plant symbolizing her green commitment. Neatly placed in the right corner, A framed photo of her smiling mother on the desk reminded Harper of her career's origin. An unwavering belief in community-driven impact. Within minutes, Green Sinclair, Archer Caldwell's assistant, knocked lightly. "The board meeting starts in 5, Ms. Winslow." Her tone wasn't rushed, just enough to signal that Harper's stellar credentials and research were about to face the scrutiny of Greenfield's highest stakes. Harper nodded, steadying her breath, and gave her presentation a final check. Energy-saving charts, material flow diagrams, and clear social impact forecasts phased out meticulously. The boardroom, perched on the top floor, hosted not just Archer Caldwell at the head of the table, but also Thatcher Huxley, known for his skepticism toward unorthodox solutions, Marlo Quinn with her long-term investment lens, and Lennox Voss, who balanced profit with social responsibility. The air was so still that the ticking clock seemed to underscore each passing second, drawing the company's commitments closer to reality. When Archer invited her to present, Harper stood tall, her voice calm and steady. "Thank you, Board of Directors, for your trust. Greenfield Innovations isn't just about creating sustainable tech for elite markets. It must pioneer solutions for the most underserved communities." She let the statement linger before moving to her first slide. Modular solar energy units, 40% lower production costs. Portable water filtration, 30-minute installation per unit, 12% internal rate of return after 2 years. Each figure shone clearly, a metaphor for the journey from lab to people's rooftops. Less than a minute in, Thatcher Huxley raised an eyebrow, his voice slicing through like a honed blade. "Miss Winslow, I get your vision, but we're dealing with demanding shareholders who want stable returns and minimal risk. Can low-income communities sustain these systems?" The question cut through the room like a cold gust, challenging any theoretical argument. Harper didn't hesitate. Her tone was calm but firm. "That's the crux. Our pilots in 3 Southeast Asian regions showed maintenance costs 60% lower than traditional systems, with resident satisfaction above 90%. Local cooperatives have committed to the supply chain, ensuring long-term social sustainability." She ticked off data points. 85% recycling rate, 15 hours saved per household monthly, and reinvested revenue for education projects. Each number was a solid brick, building a wall of persuasion against doubt. The tension eased into focused attention. Marlo Quinn nodded slightly. Lennox Voss jotted notes on his tablet, his eyes glinting with opportunity. Even Thatcher Huxley, still cloaked in skepticism, couldn't dodge Harper's direct gaze. He lifted his water glass, took a breath, and nodded. Clearly, these practical figures can't be ignored. A flicker of surprise on his face admitted that pragmatic solutions were the key to sustainable strategy. As the meeting wrapped, Archer Caldwell smiled, his voice warm with respect. "I value your blend of data analysis and social vision, Harper Winslow. We'll move forward with a larger-scale pilot." The door opened, and Harper stepped out, feeling her footsteps mark a career turning point. The minimalist office fell quiet again, but the small plant on her desk seemed to lean toward a hopeful new chapter. That night, as the city lit up, Harper sat at her desk, eyes glued to her screen, drafting detailed plans for the next phase. In her final note, she wrote, "Prepare detailed financial report per requirements, plus survey to additional pilot sites." Her calm inner voice lingered. This work wasn't just numbers. It was a journey to turn theory into reality, step by step, building trust and lasting value for the future. That evening, the warm golden glow from Ducas's glass doors enveloped Harper Winslow like a welcoming tapestry, though she was merely guiding her bicycle across the windy sidewalk. Amid the elegance of leather chairs and white linen tables, her simple black dress stood out like a minimalist stroke in the intricate canvas of the upscale setting. The sports bike, her only proof of a 5-mile journey, was neatly locked outside with a curved padlock, a silent testament to her environmental commitment. As she crossed the threshold, the door's soft chime rang, and the scent of oak mingled with fragrant candles wafted through, lending the evening an oddly intimate feel. as if every detail was staged to honor sincerity. In the private dining room, Archer Caldwell rose to greet her, a faint smile signaling his approval. Beside him stood 3 sharply dressed gentlemen and a woman with a piercing gaze. As Harper approached, a brief murmur rippled through, like gentle waves lapping at the shore. Not gossip, but admiring attention for the bold woman defying norms. The dining room manager bowed deeply. Introducing Ms. Winslow, our guest from Greenfield Innovations. The simplicity of her name's announcement in the opulent space startled the room, like a small star suddenly blazing in a glittering galaxy. The lone woman at the table, Marlo Quinn, raised an eyebrow, her eyes probing. "You still came here by bike?" The question wasn't just curiosity, it sought the story behind her choice. Harper glanced at her low-heeled boots, easy to slip off for pedaling, and smiled gracefully. "A 5-minute ride through the park clears my mind before big conversations. Plus, it saves me about $2,000 a year on parking, not to mention I get a workout and stay energized for the evening." Her witty tone lightened the formal air, like a velvet curtain parting to reveal her genuine, vibrant energy. As the appetizer arrived, pan-seared scallops with lime salsa, the conversation shifted to the core, markets and business models. Harper leaned in, her voice warm and persuasive. "My research shows that cutting investment costs by 40% with affordable solar modules expands the potential market 4-fold. The portable water filtration segment alone could reach 100,000 households in the first year if we leverage local cooperative networks." He pulled a slim infographic from her jacket pocket, its glossy white page reflecting candlelight, displaying growth curves and before and after cost comparisons. Each neon-sleeved point screamed, "Reality trumps theory." At that moment, an older investor spoke up. "But will the profit margins entice shareholders?" Harper took a soft breath, resting her hand on the rim of her deep red wine glass, and responded slowly. "Initial data projects an internal rate of return above 12% after 2 years, while the social impact creates immeasurable brand value. Extending customer loyalty, with user satisfaction at 92%, I believe value isn't just in dollars." Her smile, glinting like a gem under the candlelight, dissolved lingering doubts. The evening's centerpiece, a golden-crusted beef Wellington, arrived before each guest like an invitation to savor refinement. As forks clinked, Harper expanded her pitch. "We can bundle affordable periodic maintenance to keep systems reliable. Local maintenance cooperatives would act as agents for customer care, creating jobs and boosting community ties." Her words rang out amid the soft clatter of cutlery and murmurs of approval. When dessert, a rich chocolate cake drizzled with wild berry sauce, was served, Marlo Quinn nodded, her gaze shifting from skepticism to admiration. "I must admit, I've never met someone who presents market opportunities so thoroughly while weaving in such social passion." Her words weren't just praise, they were a key to unlocking investment. Archer Caldwell rested a hand on Harper's shoulder, his smile radiating pride. "We've found in you not just an expert, but an inspirer." As the evening's final lights dimmed, the table lamp's glow on the signed agreement felt like a bell sealing an unspoken deal. Harper left the restaurant, her black dress a powerful symbol of her message. "Embrace enough elegance to inspire, but stay true to your principles." Her trusty bike, her companion through the dazzling lights, carried her home in the quiet joy of a new chapter about to unfold. Morning sunlight poured gently over the weathered tin roofs of the suburban neighborhood, like a warm tide embracing each humble brick. Harper Winslow led Archer Caldwell and Marlo Quinn from the car, the street feeling both foreign and familiar, like a soft, worn sweater. The car's tires tilted, leaving tracks on the cracked concrete road, each fragment a reminder of the challenges this community had overcome. The air carried the faint scent of dried banana leaves on porches, blending with the cheerful chatter of children through open windows, a vivid portrait of daily life in the city that never sleeps. At the small community center on the corner, Sawyer Langford, a friendly manager with a kind smile, waited. He greeted the trio with a warm handshake, his voice ringing like a comforting ballad. "Morning, Harper Winslow, and esteemed guests. Here's to a day full of energy." His greeting, like a melody, dispelled the street's dust, pulling Archer Caldwell from his world of glass and steel into the earthy warmth of the neighborhood. Harper smiled, her hand brushing the weathered wooden door, silently thanking Sawyer for giving her and her colleagues this chance to grasp reality. Inside the modest room, furnished with just a few plastic chairs, cool air from a slowly spinning ceiling fan stirred gentle swirls as if sweeping away all heaviness. At the center, a prototype portable water filtration system stood proudly on a cement pedestal, its stainless steel gleaming like a promise of purity. Harper stepped forward, her voice vibrant with passion. "This is a collaboration between Greenfield and our community. Rainwater funnel, low-pressure pump, nano-filter, all compact in a lightweight steel frame." Marlowe Quinn's eyes sparked with interest, while Archer Caldwell leaned in to inspect the details, pensive, like a craftsman admiring his first creation. Sawyer chimed in eagerly. "After 6 months of testing, our community saved 40% on water costs. That money funded extra classes and meals for kids. I want you to see the joy of people no longer worrying about clean water daily." He opened a plastic valve, letting water trickle through the filter, each pure drop falling into the container like glistening crystals. The sound echoed in the quiet space, resounding like a hymn of nature reborn. Leaving the center, the group walked through an alley draped with vibrant bougainvillea, each crimson bloom a resilient heart rising from concrete. Harper led Archer and Marlowe to a small house where Juniper Blake, a retired teacher, greeted them with a radiant smile. In her front yard, a modular solar panel tilted on an iron frame, its sleek surface catching sunlight like the eager eyes of the elderly teacher. Juniper boasted proudly, "My grandson and I installed it over a weekend. Now, a cup of tea powers my stove and reading light." Her words, like a soothing note, painted a simple yet vibrant scene. Before the panel, Archer craned his neck, his hand grazing the tempered glass, its cool touch bridging cutting-edge tech and heartfelt simplicity. He asked softly, "Why not hire professionals?" Juniper smiled warmly. "Money's precious for an old woman like me. Now I save, and my grandkids learn technical skills." Her eyes shone with pride, like stars twinkling in a dark sky. The journey continued as Harper invited the group to a community garden, where vegetables and fruit trees thrived on a recycled water irrigation system. The reddish-brown soil, damp with rainwater, glistened on lettuce leaves, reflecting light like 1,000 tiny gems, Sawyer explained. "We collect rooftop rainwater, filter it, and irrigate. The produce feeds 30 local families in a communal kitchen." Marlowe scribbled quickly in her notebook, her eyes alight with the potential for scaling up. Under the clear sky, Archer took Harper's hand, his gaze softening, as if finding a connection between high intellect and everyday humility. He whispered, "You've brought Greenfield closer to the community's heart than anyone." Harper nodded slightly, her heart swelling with quiet joy, like a flower blooming at dawn. As the group left the garden, returning to the modern car, Harper gazed at the cluster of small houses, banana trees, and lush vegetable patches, a living ink-wash painting. She smiled to herself. Sustainability isn't just technology, it's humanity, and trust nurtured daily. As the car rolled away, the children's cheerful chatter echoed behind, like a promise of a future where every drop of water and ray of sunlight is cherished and shared. Before dawn could seep through the window, Harper Winslow crouched at her desk, eyes locked on the tablet's cold text. Community program budget slashed by 60%. It felt like a curtain of hope had been torn apart, exposing a void of betrayed promises. The stark notice, devoid of explanation, cut through months of effort like a sharpened blade. She drew a long breath, clinging to fragments of calm amid the storm of shocking news. Beside her, Piper Easton, the fiery marketing specialist, stared at the screen, her lashes trembling like maple leaves in the wind. "No way," she muttered, her voice thick with suppressed disappointment. Atlas Monroe's fingers flew across the keyboard, frantically searching for any email clarifying this sudden collapse. The only clear fact: Thatcher Huxley and some board members had pushed a focus on premium clients to safeguard core profits. The harsh truth sparked a deep conflict. The ideal of sustainability and the shadow of profit seemed irreconcilable. Without pausing to process, Harper shot to her feet, fists clenched. She stormed down the hallway, past glass doors reflecting the building's icy glow. Each step echoed like an alarm, her ragged breaths mingling with the sharp knock on Archer Caldwell's office door. It swung open, and before Greenfield's coordinator could react, she strode in, fury. Without preamble, she thrust the tablet onto his desk. Why? Why would they so easily discard our promise to the community? Archer's eyes narrowed, his face paling as he saw the bold figures on the screen. Harper, calm down. This was the board's decision, based on market conditions. His voice echoed through a thick pane of glass, blending business rationale with a hint of helplessness. Harper cut him off. What kind of excuse sounds more and more like erasing who we stood for? This isn't strategy, it's a kick to our core values. Her voice rang out, strained to the breaking point, framing a clash of two worlds, one bound by numbers, the other fiercely defending people. The overhead light glared, piercing the standoff. Archer tried to restrain his emotions, but his eyes glistened. I fought as hard as I could to save the program, but there's shareholder pressure, the economy. His words faltered, his chest heaving with conflict. Harper froze, struck by the realization that even she could be blindsided by things left unsaid. But she stood firm. If we keep retreating under pressure, sustainability is just a fantasy. We've faced hardships before, but never bowed. The silence was suffocating. Archer let out a heavy sigh. I understand, but my responsibility is to balance the company's interests. Harper flinched, seeing that business duty couldn't be untangled from social duty. She turned and left, her boots scuffing the concrete floor, leaving Archer in a haze of guilt. The door closed, carrying the lingering echo of their conflict. Two allies, once united, now on opposite sides. The next day, Harper threw herself into work. She stayed late, every mouse click reshaping the project, revising budgets, seeking matching funds, contacting Sawyer Langford and Juniper Blake to ensure minimal commitments held. Each spreadsheet, each sent email, was a quiet jab at the notion that communities are just a cost burden. The desk lamp's greenish glow cast her slim silhouette against a sea of numbers, a lone warrior refusing to yield. Meanwhile, upstairs, Archer sat buried in financial reports, his weary face betraying a conscience weighed down. The morning's board meeting had yielded no progress. Many members still feared risks, questioning the program's efficiency. He clenched his jaw, blaming himself for not fighting harder for Harper's vision. He muttered, "She deserves better," but the words only echoed off cold walls. By day's end, the building's halls were empty, save for Harper's quiet steps. She paused outside Archer's office, hesitating briefly. Their eyes met in silence, the distance between them not just professional, but born of sorrow and clashing beliefs. Neither broke the quiet. Harper gave a slight nod, as if saying, "We'll find a way forward." Archer bowed his head, his eyes flickering with regret and resolve. Before leaving, Harper lingered in the grand lobby, cradling the tablet with her new program draft. The elevator's hum echoed, reminding her that no matter what, the fight for a sustainable future must go on. She smiled thinly, a wordless ache rising within. Amid tension and loss, a faint ember of hope still glowed, urging her to keep fighting. The next morning, as the first rays of sunlight hesitated at the glass windows, Archer Caldwell was already in his expansive office, his face grave. His suit was impeccably pressed, the navy tie a promise of a new day, but in his hands was a thick file of confidential emails and documents. The computer screen glowed with a cold blue light, revealing a chain of messages between Thatcher Huxley and Next Gen Resources leadership, outlining terms to sell Greenfield's core water filtration patents. Archer shuddered, as if touching an icy stone. The 12 months of Harper Winslow's and the team's efforts suddenly fragile as crumpled paper. Pushing emotion aside, Archer summoned Greer Sinclair, his voice low enough for only her to hear. "Greer, print all these emails immediately and prepare materials for an emergency board meeting in 1 hour." Greer nodded, her hands moving swiftly, her eyes a mix of anxiety and shock. She understood this wasn't just a routine business deal. It was a betrayal of Greenfield Innovations' core values. Meanwhile, Harper Winslow was engrossed in her office, her laptop buried in financial figures and community program progress reports. She was oblivious to the storm brewing behind the sleek glass walls. When Greer knocked softly, bearing an urgent look in a thick file, Harper stood abruptly. "What's wrong, Greer?" The first printout revealed a heading: Transfer Agreement, with terms stating Thatcher Huxley to receive stock options and a board seat at NextGen. The truth laid bare like exposed deceit. Harper felt as if struck by lightning, a restless surge rising in her chest, her heart pounding. They rushed to Archer's office, the familiar space now thick with tension. Archer stared at the documents on his desk, his eyes red from sleeplessness, his voice hoarse. "Harper, I'm sorry. I wanted you to hear the truth from me first, but I had to verify everything." Harper's eyes widened, her voice soft, but firm. "You found proof?" He nodded, spreading out pages like evidence in a trial, emails detailing the premium client focus plan as an economic pretext to gut the community program, all while Huxley secretly negotiated the patent sale. Fury flared in her, but she held steady. "We have to act now." In an instant, Archer rang the bell for an emergency meeting. The board: Lennox Voss, Marlowe Quinn, Sawyer Langford, and key members gathered swiftly in a ground-floor meeting room. Harsh halogen lights glared down on the round table, the scene as solemn as a courtroom. Archer stood, his voice calm but resolute. "I present evidence of a scheme to sell Greenfield's intellectual property to Next-Gen Resources with personal profiteering by Thatcher Huxley." Slides flashed behind him, dates, messages, commission term. Each was a bullet aimed at Huxley's credibility. The air grew stiflingly silent. Thatcher Huxley entering the room froze like a statue facing his indictment. His confident gaze faltered, his suit jacket trembling slightly. "It was just a consultation process," he stammered. But Lennox Voss, once his ally, retorted sharply, "Consultation doesn't include stock options and a rival board seat." Faces around the table shifted from shock to outrage. After nearly an hour of heated debate, most members withdrew support for Huxley. A closed vote sealed his fate. He was removed from the board, with Archer Caldwell temporarily assuming full authority, pending investigation. The gavel's soft tap echoed like a drum closing a dark chapter. Archer's eyes flashed with anger, but also gratitude for internal justice. As the board dispersed, Archer sought Harper in the grand lobby, unable to suppress a faint smile after the turmoil. She was reviewing her restructured plan, her face still shadowed by stress. Seeing him, Harper offered a shy smile. Archer approached, handing her a sealed file, his voice warm. "Harper, I owe you an apology. You were right to question. The budget cuts will be fully restored plus a 15% increase to fuel expansion." His eyes met hers, seeking to mend their fractured trust. In the building's quiet, Harper bowed her head, her voice wavering. Thank you. Thank you for not letting our ideals stray." Archer placed a hand on her shoulder, their footsteps soft on the cool stone floor, marking the start of a new chapter. one where justice and sincerity triumphed over dark schemes, paving the way for true sustainability to forge ahead. The afternoon sun filtered softly through the small workshop's window, painting warm streaks across the workbench like a nascent smile. Amid the scent of machine oil and pine, Archer Caldwell stood by the tool rack, his hand grazing the rough iron frame of a bicycle taking shape. His gaze softened unusually, as if he'd left behind the ebony-lined penthouse basement where he once shaped Greenfield Innovations' future. The hum of gears and the drill's gentle whine blended into a simple symphony, born from his hands and the petite woman who'd once captivated him as she pedaled to her interview. Harper Winslow sat across, a faint sheen of sweat on her brow, her eyes fixed on Archer's every move. Silently, she handed him the final screw to complete the front wheel. The bicycle, reborn from salvaged aluminum and scavenged parts, now resembled an industrial artwork, a symbolic bridge between two seemingly irreconcilable worlds. Each bolted screw, each tightened gear, marked a testament to trust and ambition. The workshop fell quiet, save for the drill's resolute hum. Harper extended her small hand, her voice soft. "You've surprised me, Archer." Her tone carried a swell of emotion, gratitude, admiration, and a touch of awe for the gifted yet sincere man. Archer set down the wrench, offering a kind smile. "I want to build not just Greenfield's future, but real connections. This bike symbolizes the journey we share." His words rang like a spell, brushing away metal dust to reveal the tenderness in the heart of an environmental empire's leader. As the bike neared completion, the day's final sunbeam pierced the window, bathing the hand-stitched leather saddle in golden light. Harper leaned forward, her hand resting on the frame, her eyes gleaming with joy. "It's like magic. Pieces that seemed meaningless now form a whole." Her voice trembled, like a violin's vibrant strings mingling with the clink of metal. This wasn't just a mode of transport, it embodied an ideal. Sustainability and connection. Suddenly, Greer Sinclair, loyal assistant, appeared at the door, holding 2 glasses of cool lemonade. She placed one before Harper, her gaze affectionate. "You two look like artisans crafting a final masterpiece," she teased, her voice light as a breeze. Harper laughed, inhaling deeply, the lemon scent spreading like a tranquil melody. Archer met Greer's eyes with gratitude. "We've created something not just for us, but for the community." In that moment, the workshop bell chimed, signaling the workday's end. In the rosy glow of dusk, Harper turned to admire the bike, its recycled colors radiant like a guiding torch. She asked softly, "Where will this bike go now?" Archer rested a hand on the handlebars, his expression thoughtful. "It's the start of your journey, and you'll bring Greenfield closer to the community." His reply sparked pride in her chest. The bike wasn't just for her, it was a vehicle for a message of sustainable progress. As the workshop door closed, Harper's silhouette merged with the bike's, slung over her shoulder, like comrades ready to face the world. Streetlights stretched along the road, illuminating a path toward scenes poised for change. Tomorrow morning, she'd return as Director of Sustainability, pedaling this iconic bike through sun and rain. She turned, giving Archer a gentle handshake. "Thank you for understanding me more than anyone." His eyes shimmered with quiet joy. The final scene closed with their figures stepping into a narrow alley, cold climate trees swaying in the breeze. The steady roll of the bike's wheels on the pavement set a confident, promising rhythm. The sunset bathed the simple yet profound moment in meaning, a journey blending dreams with reality, personal ideals with communal mission, etched by their shared labor over seemingly trivial parts. Amid the whispering wind and the wheel's steady hum, the sustainable future of Greenfield Innovations and Harper Winslow began to rise, as vivid as the dawn breaking ahead. The early summer dawn spilled golden rays through the office window, casting warm streaks across the project map on the desk, like sweet promises. Harper Winslow sat by her computer, eyes tracing the final data lines of the Southeast Asia expansion report. The room was hushed, only the ceiling fan's soft clatter marking her quiet contemplation as she prepared for a new journey. Suddenly her phone blinked, and a woman's voice came through. "Hello, Ms. Winslow. This is Dr. Arden Callahan from the International Sustainability Alliance." Arden Callahan's voice was like a cool stream in summer, bearing good news. ISA wanted Harper as Southeast Asia Regional Director. Each word from the scientist rang like soaring notes, describing global influence and the responsibility to lead national-scale sustainable projects. Harper looked up, her heart swelling like a sail catching wind, pounding with excitement and hesitation. It was the dream she'd nurtured as a student, but it meant leaving Greenfield Innovations, where she and Archer Caldwell had woven countless shared memories. She hung up, pausing to reflect, then stepped onto the balcony overlooking the small garden below. Leaves swayed in the breeze, welcoming new ideas. Archer appeared beside her, holding a cup of black coffee, his gaze gentle. "Good news from ISA?" His voice was a soothing backdrop, underscoring the turning point. Harper smiled, her eyes bright. "They want me in Singapore. A bigger role, broader impact." She paused, exhaling softly. "But I don't want to abandon our brainchild at Greenfield." Archer rested a hand on her shoulder, his smile quiet. "You're not alone. We can partner with ISA instead of choosing one over the other." The idea sparked like daylight lightning, Greenfield collaborating with ISA, leveraging expertise and local networks to drive Southeast Asia projects. The global dream was no longer a mirage, but a sharpening plan. Their shared glance, united in purpose, ignited a creative flame. That afternoon, Harper and Archer sat in a small meeting room, a whiteboard scrawled with notes. ISA Greenfield Partnership, boxes and arrows mapping a transnational journey. Harper wrote local expertise beside global network, while Archer circled joint leadership above implementation strategy. They laughed, their hands brushing the marker, feeling the pulse of passion and duty. The next day they pitched to Greenfield's board. Lennox Voss, Sawyer Langford, and Marlowe Quinn listened intently. Slides unveiled benefits, swift government access via ISA's reputation. Greenfield Sustainable Tech ensures deployment efficiency, 20% revenue growth in year one. Soft applause followed the final slide. Mutual growth, shared impact. A symphony of harmony between organizations. Soon after, Harper flew to Singapore to negotiate with ISA's leadership. Arden Callahan and Piper Easton sat across, the international meeting room's lights glinting off a bilateral contract. Each signature etched a commitment. Greenfield ESA would spearhead community projects in Indonesia, Vietnam, the Philippines, Thailand, and Malaysia. The blend of prestige and expertise was sealed, opening a global gateway. Back in Vietnam, Harper and Archer packed for the journey. The long flight felt brief, buoyed by anticipation. They shared a final moment in the office. Greer Sinclair placed a small plant on the desk, symbolizing sustainability's roots sprouting across Southeast Asia. Atlas Monroe and Piper Easton gifted Harper a new briefcase, its soft padding safeguarding precious documents. Finally, on their departure day, Dawn was still shy, but their hearts raced, eager to set out. Harper pedaled her recycled bike, its rear rack laden with mission-stamped documents. Archer walked beside her, his suit tucked behind the elevator door, hands on the wheel of an electric car. Together, they navigated the waking city, pioneers on a sustainable path. As the first dawn light stretched across the horizon, they paused at the airport-bound intersection. The bike's wheels spun gently, its tires and the cars sinking into a bridge between worlds, technology and humanity, local and global. Harper flashed a radiant smile, glancing at Archer, her partner who journeyed with her from a humble bike to international innovation. her whisper mingled with the morning breeze. From a bike-bound start to launching Southeast Asia's initiatives, our journey proves the power of commitment. As they moved forward, their steps sketched a sustainable future waiting ahead. Morning mist clung to the leaves on the small balcony as the rosy dawn filtered through the glass, bathing the bulletin board's notes and community campaign calendar in soft light. Harper Winslow exhaled a warm breath, her hand resting on a mug of black coffee, its rich aroma a quiet affirmation that each new day held chances to change the world. On the fridge, a framed photo of her with Archer Caldwell and her mother in front of their old house stood as a reminder of the journey from humble roots to ambitious present. At the dining table, Harper deftly tucked a printed calendar page into her jacket pocket, already holding the Southeast Asia project map and meticulous financial reports. Archer appeared with a gentle smile, carrying a small tool bag with bike assembly gear, a symbol of their enduring partnership across two worlds. After 2 weeks apart, their first moments back together were sealed with encouraging glances, like twin lighthouses guiding each other. Stepping outside, Harper pedaled the bike finished in the workshop the previous week, its recycled aluminum frame gleaming in ivory paint, the hand-stitched leather saddle etched with a leaf. Greenfield Innovations marked Archer, with a light backpack and a compact electric car key for essential files, walked beside her as both guardian and ally. The early breeze carried the scent of wet asphalt and faint milkweed, weaving a delicate symphony of city and nature. They wove through familiar streets, where weathered sidewalk bricks blended with green-painted bike lanes. Their pedaling synced like two heartbeats, the wheels gliding softly on smooth pavement, each turn a clap of support for their sustainable journey. Sunlight danced through branches, a signal urging them to go further, undaunted by challenges. Pausing at a major intersection, Archer leaned toward her, his voice warm. "Look at you. From this bike, every beginning feels unexpected." Harper smiled, her eyes sparkling. "It's not the bike that makes me confident, it's the journey we've built together." Her words were a duet, praising the pieces that formed their path while underscoring a humanism-driven vision of sustainability. Crossing a curved iron bridge over a shimmering river, they glimpsed Greenfield Innovations building reflected on the water, a magnified echo of their dream. Nearby, the small cafe where Piper Easton hosted team meetings had takeaway coffee ready. The city's rhythm flowed smoothly, matching their pedaling pace as they prepared to break new ground. At the airport bus terminal, Harper locked her bike neatly and with Archer packed files into a rolling suitcase. They glided through check-in, their eager eyes tracking the departure signs like milestones to a global gateway. Each step past security quickened their pulses, a drumbeat heralding a new journey. In the departure lounge, they sat by a large window, planes poised for takeoff. Harper pulled out the project map, murmuring destinations. Indonesia, Vietnam, the Philippines. Her eyes glowed like embers of hope. Archer jotted notes beside her, sunlight through clouds tracing luminous lines on his hands, as if the world itself beckoned. As the plane taxied, Harper gripped Archer's hand, her face alight with excitement. This journey isn't just work. It's how we shape the future together. At takeoff, gravity eased, their hearts floating mid-air, a fusion of achievement and aspiration. In the business-class cabin, soft lights and plush leather seats cradled them like a protective embrace. A congratulatory message from Arden Callahan fueled their momentum. Harper gazed out the window, clouds drifting below like a cotton sea, knowing each project, each trip laid bricks for a sustainable dream. As the plane crossed the horizon, their hands brushed. Two individuals, two ideals, two life stories woven into one. Below, the city faded. Above, the sky stretched boundless, and they surged toward transformative change in space and spirit. The engine's hum echoed the bike's pedaling rhythm from years ago, a nod to a journey that began with an idea and culminated in global vision. And when tomorrow's first dawn broke, Harper Winslow and Archer Caldwell knew their shared journey would never end. The true destination lay in the path they continued to tread. Through every turn, every new horizon, the steady roll of wheels and their united heartbeat would resound, crafting a true symphony of sustainability. Having heard Harper Winslow's journey, I'm deeply moved by her unwavering ideals and steadfast belief. From the moment she pedaled into that interview on her recycled bicycle to the instant she tore away the veil on a betrayal plot, her devoted quest resonated with viewers' hearts. Beside Archer Caldwell, the showdown with Thatcher Huxley injected raw drama and tension. The emergency board meeting, the classified evidence, and the decision to expose the conspiracy drove the narrative to a boiling point, raising the question of whether power and integrity can truly coexist within a corporation. Just when all seemed lost, Greer Sinclair and Marlo Quinn emerged as vital pillars of support for Harper Winslow, proving that no matter how solitary the struggle, there are always compassionate allies ready to stand firm when one's principles are on the line. In that pivotal moment, Archer Caldwell recognized the community-centered value at the heart of Harper Winslow's proposal. His choice to forge an international partnership with Arden Callahan opened a bold new chapter for Greenfield Innovations, shifting the company's compass from pure corporate ambition toward a global humanitarian mission. Through every high and low, from that first bicycle riding interview to the final defense of her program, Harper Winslow and Archer Caldwell demonstrated that true success isn't measured by profit alone. It's measured by faith in meaningful values, the bonds of teamwork, and the unquenchable drive to make a difference, priceless qualities no amount of money can purchase. Thank you sincerely for joining us on Millionaire and Heart Stories. Your interest and support inspire us to keep bringing you stories that uplift and captivate. We can't wait to share more secrets and heartfelt moments in the next episode. Thank you for your continued support. Until our next journey together, may resilience always, always light our way.